Hello, world history students. I am actually on location right now in Sandpoint, Idaho, but I am working through the month of August to prepare a lot of digital notebooks for you guys. So this is lesson number 5, and this is about Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation. We're learning 2 key things through this whole lesson, which is a pretty long lesson, to be honest with you. The first thing is that we're learning about Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation and the impact that he had. This is what I call content. This is the content you need to learn. The vocab words, the people, the places, the events that took place. That's part of what we're learning. But the other part of what we're learning is historian skills, which I like to emphasize. The historian skills that we're learning today are contextualization and corroboration. So with the Renaissance lesson plan, you already have analyzed primary sources, and these were pictures. These were paintings from the Renaissance period. In this case, we're going to be focusing on writing. So if we just take a look through what we've got here, just going through the slides, make sure your name is on here. You should have already completed this do now. As far as the activate section here, I'm curious what you all came up with as far as churches and religious centers in Moscow. I'm not sure what the number is. If anybody can tell me the number, that would be awesome. But if you just think of Moscow High School, just around Moscow High School, we have the Methodist Church across the street, that old building. We have the Presbyterian Church is behind, the Unitarian Universalist Church right up the street. I think there's one that's like it's called All Souls, is right down the street. There's religious buildings like literally within a block of Moscow High School, just I think 4 or 5 that I can think of off the top of my head. So all these denominations, the reason that they exist is because of Martin Luther. Okay, so this will be the placeholder for this video I'm making right now, so that might look different. The main thing, though, in regards of content, like I said, is we need to learn about Martin Luther's life and his impact on Europe and the world at large. This is mostly going to be done through this Rick Steves documentary, which is really well done. We break this up, so this first part here, you're going to want to watch until 33 minutes, and that kind of gets to the end of his of what he did when he posted the 95 Theses. And you'll want to use this section here on the right to document any important notes for you. This is notes for you so that you can answer the assessment questions later, okay? So this is all building context. What's the context that our question is taking place in? What happened during the Protestant Reformation? What did Martin Luther do? We're building up context, okay? This timeline doesn't require you to do anything, but this is for you to kind of see how things took place in a sequential order. After you watch the movie, this will make more sense, but this just gives you an idea. And later, you'll want to come back to this to make sure you know what dates certain things happened. And this is two pages. There's nothing required of you on this. On this right side here, you have a video from a Martin Luther movie that is from 2003. And it's a famous speech that Martin Luther gave during the Diet of Worms, or Diet of Worms. And you can watch that, and you can see a map here on the right that shows what happened after the Protestant Reformation in Europe, how different religions rose up. This analysis part, this is the key part for our historian skills. What we're doing is looking at a young Martin Luther's explanation of why he broke away from the Catholic Church, and an older Martin Luther's reasons for breaking away from the Catholic Church. We're going to apply our historian skills of contextualization, knowing what happened from the video, being able to put that into this assignment. Also sourcing, when were these documents written, who wrote them. We're basically looking at 2 documents by Martin Luther that are written at different years that have a definitely have a different tone. And then lastly, we're going to look at a document from Pope Leo X, which was a response to Martin Luther's teachings, just to get a well-rounded view of what was happening. We also will be practicing the skill of corroboration, not collaboration, but corroboration. Corroboration is taking multiple sources and putting them together to come up with an understanding of what the heck happened. Historians don't just look at one source. there'd be an obvious problem of bias there, and they would be giving people false information. So what a real historian does, and what anybody does who's a critical thinker, is looks at evidence from multiple sources and tries to come to their own conclusion based on that. Being open-minded enough to look at different sources, but also coming to a settled, like, this is what I believe happened. And that is going to be the main task of the first part of our focus question. So you can see document A. This is young Martin Luther. There's a couple questions here. This is for you, mostly for you to take notes in to help organize your thoughts. Document B is the older Martin Luther and his explanation of why he broke away from the Catholic Church, which again is the first part of our focus question. Then there's this grid here where you can compare. And this part, I do not want you to write in this part, but I want you to find a classmate, or I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen this fall, but somebody else. And I want you to go through these questions and just say them out loud. If you can't find anybody else, just do it out loud. Really, you don't have to type anything, but just really think like, okay, why did Luther challenge Catholic Church? Well, that first document said this. That second document said this. I think that this is true. After that, I went backwards. After that, there's one last document. And I think this is important because we need to look at sources outside of of Martin Luther. And so I picked basically his enemy, Pope Leo X. Pope Leo X was actually, his real name was Giovanni Medici. And he was the Medicis that are in the Renaissance that are funding all of the art. They work their way up to a status high enough that they are able to become the Pope, which shows how much power that they got simply through banking. This is basically Pope Leo X might be, he's very similar to our president, at least at the time of this video, Donald Trump, and that he's part of the merchant class. He's from a very wealthy family, and he was able to move into one of the highest positions of power in Europe, which was the Pope. And you'll learn more about him in the video. He's famous for saying, God has given us what is the quote? It's up here. It's a really good quote, though. Since God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it. Which kind of shows you his attitude. He's the party Pope. Okay. So we have this. This part is just additional practice. I just want to emphasize that we're looking at these skills. Sourcing is who the heck wrote this thing. Contextualization, what do we know about this author? Okay. And lastly, what did the Pope, close reading is just looking at something very specific that answers our research question. And this is just asking a question, what did Pope Leo X say should happen in Martin Luther's writings, which is very important. What did he think should happen? And this will help us answer the question of why Martin Luther broke from the Catholic Church. So at the end, our first assessment. Now, I want to emphasize that assessments are the main thing that I'm grading. That's why they're called assessments. You can think of these as like kind of a test of your knowledge. In this case, we're looking at the first part of the focus question, which is why did Martin Luther break from the Catholic Church? That's the main overarching question. This question here, though, is why did Martin Luther's account change? Is one more reliable than the other? Okay, so this will help you answer why he broke away from the Catholic Church. We will then finish the Rick Steves movie. You'll start about 33 minutes in, and this gives you basically, this is a very key part of the video. It explains what happens after Martin Luther and the impact that it had on Europe, and this answers the second part of our focus question. I have a couple questions. Just what are the main differences between Catholics and Protestants? And what was the impact of his overall, of his teachings on the Catholic Church in Europe? Okay. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Okay. Now this is the review section, and this is very important before our final assessment. You will need to use these vocabulary words in your final assessment. Indulgence, heretic, excommunication, maybe not all of them, but at least a good chunk of them. You'll need to know this essential vocabulary in order to make an argument and sound intelligent and know what you're saying. So there's 8 key vocab words. You probably, honestly, after watching the video and going through the primary sources, you probably can write your own definition here, and that's fine. just make sure you know what they are. It's definitely true. You could just search these into Google and copy and paste it into here if you wanted to, but I don't advise doing that because the whole point of this is to teach you how to use these words. But I'm not going to mark you down on that. This is notes for you, and this will be used at a later assessment. You'll be able to use this on your final assessment. So it's very important that you go through and fill in useful notes to yourself. But keep in mind, I will often go through and check, provide comments, but I'm really looking at the final assessment for the most part. I'm making sure that you guys understand what is happening. In some cases, like the primary source analysis, I probably look at the table or something random. It's just when you have about 125 students, you really got to zero in on those key things and make sure that you know what students are doing. If I spent a half an hour per student looking at this entire thing, it'd be problematic. But I like to keep it a surprise, and I don't really let you know what I'm looking at. But I definitely look at the assessments, so make sure you put a good amount of work in there. This is also vocab review. Now, these are the key vocab words: Reformation, Catholic Church. In the Reformation, I'm specifically talking about the Protestant Reformation. So make sure you understand that and how it relates with the Catholic Church. This is another practice. Basically, this is a text message between Pope Leo X and Martin Luther. Just do a text battle. You can be totally creative with that and try to use the vocabulary words so you get comfortable using them. And then finally, make an Instagram. Oh, my goodness, I lost it. Make an Instagram post that illustrates one of the impacts that Martin Luther had on Europe. Okay. And you can be totally creative with these. This is to help you think about everything that we've learned in a different way. Finally, this is, you can ignore this, but finally we have our assessment, number 2. So the first assessment is looking, the first part of the question, why did Martin Luther break from the Catholic Church? Excuse me. Second part is looking at what was his impact. And this is the most important part to me, because what we're getting at is trying to get you guys to look at the significance. Okay. So what we do in this assessment is we write a eulogy about Martin Luther. A eulogy is a speech or writing that praises a person after they died. Usually what happens is a person has to put together the key parts of that person's life and say why they were an important individual. And that's what you're going to be doing with Martin Luther, specifically thinking about this. What was the impact of Martin Luther's teachings? You might think about Europe, his impact on the Catholic Church, but to get to the real core significance, what was his impact on us today? If Martin Luther didn't exist, how would things be different? The Rick Steves video mentions that. I also included this crash course video. There's I think 4 crash course videos on the Protestant Reformation. I include this one because it's the quickest. It's a quick delivery of information. But if you want more information, you can scroll down to the last slide and there's more crash courses. I know some of you hate crash courses. Some of you love them. So if you love them, you can go watch all those and you'd have a really solid answer to this question. Yeah, for sure. So you will write your eulogy here. And again, as I said, I'm actually going to put this into handwriting font here. I try to keep these in handwriting font so I know what your answers are. I know some of you are really love certain fonts, and that one might rub you the wrong way. But it's to help me identify what you wrote from what I wrote in this digital notebook. So I give you an example of a eulogy here with Susan B. Anthony. But we're obviously not learning about Susan B. Anthony, so don't do that. But this is a good example that you can follow. You can write about Martin Luther. When you write, use key vocab words. That's why we have the vocab section. Make sure you answer the focus question. What was the impact of Martin Luther? You might even probably get into why did he break from the Catholic Church in here also, which you can pull from the primary documents. You can use information from the primary documents. Using quotes is a great way to drive home your point. Okay, this is how historians write. They make a claim. Martin Luther did this. He's the founder of the Protestant Reformation and changed Europe by blank. They then use evidence. According to document A, Martin Luther stated, quote, write down what he said, and then you can explain it. And you can explain it using vocab words. Martin Luther was frustrated with the sale of indulgences that were used to get people out of purgatory. Those kind of words. Okay, you want to string them together. You want to know what you're talking about. The goal here is, this goes beyond history. The goal is for you to learn how to make observations about what's going on and to express yourself in a very intelligent way. Being able to express yourself properly will lead to benefits for you as a human being generally, and that you'll be able to express yourself in whatever craft you choose to do. And if you really just care about money, it's also important for that too. But I like to think of the higher things. You know what I mean? So that's basically the whole assignment here. This is a lengthier one, and there's a lot to learn here. But again, our goals are to learn how to analyze primary sources, and this is a step in that direction. After this, we will, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of the other reformers. For those of you that are way into Christian history, if you're a parent and you're watching this, you're like, what, he didn't even talk about John Calvin or something, because you love John Calvin for whatever reason. I totally recommend you having those conversations. If you scroll down to the bottom here, learning reflection, you could fill that out. This helps me make the lessons better so that they're not as terrible. If you have critiques for me, this is where you put it at. And then here's more resources on the Protestant Reformation if you want to watch a movie with your family. These movies are pretty good. This has Helena Bonham Carter. She's the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland and stuff. She's in that. And this is Luther. I actually have not watched the full thing. I've only watched the clip that I have in here. It's an okay movie, but if you're way into Martin Luther, you probably would really enjoy it. I also put some more crash course. And if you guys have any other information, please, resources that I can use, please send them to me. This one's fairly video heavy. And I guess just a recap of where I got my information. Obviously the Rick Steves video, crash course is awesome. Stanford History Education Group provided the primary sources, and Exsurge Domini, the Pope's response. I just got off the internet. I think it's actually from Wikipedia, but it's a good primary source. That's where everything came from. This template comes from Dr. Isabel Morales, who is a friend of mine, and she did an awesome job developing this template. And yeah, so if you have any questions for me, please contact me at dalebautg@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. If you're frustrated with a certain part and it's not quite clicking together. Otherwise, hopefully we can talk about this in Zoom. I'll be able to answer any questions that you have, and we can go over anything that you're confused about. And yeah, I hope that helps.